Show. It's 4 o'clock.
A little after.
It's 4.
Okay. Yeah, okay. We're resetting the time.
That's right.
That's it.
My coffee machine is slow. What can I say? All right. And today is, of course, Sunday.
The 12th.
That's right. So we do this twice a week live these days at 4 o'clock right here on this channel. Also, you can find us with a timestamp copy up on YouTube sometime later tonight. And around the web in audio format, search for Doane, D-O-A-N-E. You can leave us a comment, and I will check when I get the chance. We'll see how it goes. What is happening today?
What is happening today?
Back to Doane.
Okay, well, we have a little bit of climate update, among other things.
Climate.
Little climate update, yeah.
Climate update.
I thought this was kind of, yeah, there you go. I thought this was fascinating. The Glacier National Park quietly removes its gone by 2020 signs. Now, what they did at the Glacier National Park some years ago, I don't know how long ago, 10, 20, 30 years ago, I thought this was kind of interesting because the people that found out about this are from the Lysander Spooner University. Now, Lysander Spooner, you really should Google this guy.
Yeah.
I think he was like in the 1860s or something, and he wrote fairly a lot of information about freedom and so forth, and the fact that we hadn't signed on. The people that are alive today actually didn't sign the Constitution, and his thing was, well, we didn't have to obey it because we didn't sign it kind of. But he wrote a lot of stuff, a lot of libertarian, pre-libertarian stuff. Lysander Spooner. Anyway, visiting the park each September. The kids would go there every September, and they've noted that the GNP, that is to say, the Great Glacier National Park, most famous glaciers such as the Grinnell and the Jackson Glacier appear to have been growing, not shrinking, since about 2010. Well, the centerpiece of the visitor center at the St. Mary near the east boundary is a large three-dimensional diorama. Now, you know what a diorama is.
Sure.
It's I remember when I was in the 7th grade, I had to make a diorama, and what I did is I took a log and like hollowed it out so you could put the little three-dimensional figures in. Anyway, apparently they've got a larger one than that, showing lights going out as the glacier disappears. Visitors press a button to see the diorama lit up like a Christmas tree in 1850. All the glaciers that are there. So
wonderful.
Wonderful, that's right. And then showing fewer and fewer lights until the diorama goes completely dark, meaning there are no glaciers. As recently as September 2018, the diorama displayed a sign saying that the Glacier National Park glaciers were expected to disappear completely by 2020. Well,
and they're gone.
And they're, well, not quite. So apparently, the people there, they've had to take that sign down. I don't know when exactly they took it down, but it seems like in 2019 you could have said, it's only got a couple of, in Christmas time, you said, it's only got about a week before they're all gone.
People are all in. It's easy as a human to get convinced that your side is right, and it's hard to change that view. I mean, I would imagine some people are upset that the sign got removed.
This sign will be removed by 2020.
That's right. It'll be completely gone by 2020.
That's right.
Well, it's interesting because you look at Gretta now, and she's on there.
Yeah, she's here. She's tweeting out. She's now 17. She just turned 17. And young people are being let down by the older generations. Now,
you bad people.
You bad people. Well, what's interesting is she got 20 other young activists
to skip school with her,
I guess. and ahead of the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. Now, that economic forum in Davos, you have to be at least a billionaire to go there.
6 feet tall.
I mean, whatever. You have
ride this ride.
Yeah, that's right. You have to at least be a billionaire, and of course, everybody shows up in their very own private jets. And and it's it's for the super high muckety mucks. I think somebody said that Trump might even be going. Of course, he's a billionaire, but other heads of state I think get a pass and get to go in there, and they decide how they're going to fix the world for the next generation or until next year when Davos shows up.
Right.
So at any rate, the 20 young activists have penned a letter calling on businesses to completely divest from fossil fuels immediately.
Right.
No more. You sell off all your Ural Mountain, the little dinosaur-y things, praying mantis thingies that go up and down, all of it. You get rid of all that stuff tomorrow, immediately, tomorrow.
Right now.
Right now.
Yeah.
You can imagine. Okay. Anything less than immediately ceasing these investments in the fossil fuel industry would be a betrayal of life itself, she wrote. Today's business as usual is turning into a crime against humanity, which I guess means that they're going to haul humanity up in front of the Hague.
Don't tempt her.
Yeah, right, in front of the Hague. We demand that leaders play their part in putting an end to this madness. Our future is at stake. Let that be their investment. And then later she took to Twitter and she said, "Now look, don't twist my words. Don't take anything out of context. This is what I really mean." So whatever that means, I'm not sure. But we demand that this year's forum, participants from all companies, banks, institutions, and governments immediately halt all investments in fossil fuel exploration and extraction immedially, and end all fossil fuel subsidies, and immediately and completely divest from fossil fuels. So it sounds like it pretty much immediately. She's used that word a lot, but I thought it is kind of interesting that we got this 17-year-old, and there's a lot of people that are older than she is.
She's making demands.
Yes, she's making demands. And you talk about how dare you kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Look, I am 4 times older than she is, and
you're out there demanding stuff.
And I'm not exactly, not exactly.
Well, she hasn't reached that level of maturity yet where you theoretically could turn the corner, which most people don't get there, but she's still at the age of where she thinks she's telling people something that they've not heard yet.
She's been invited. Right. That's right.
She's convincing. She's going to tell them. And now it won't be long. It'll be interesting to see how she makes the corner, because she's different from the rest of us. Like everybody else would look up from where she's standing right now and say, wait a minute, I just told them the earth is going to explode if they don't do this stuff, and they didn't do it.
Right.
Again. Like, they invite me down here. They applaud when I come in. They stand up and give me an ovation when I say these things. And then they go, all right, we'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that. It is. You can understand, I suppose you can understand her frustration.
Well, it's worse than our frustration.
Right.
Because she's got Asperger's. And she's got the particular kind of Asperger's, I'd be willing to bet, that does not allow her to tell a lie. There's a particular kind. We used to have a guy at the Comedy Store who was like this, and then
really?
He had a bit where you would just ask him any question and he'll tell you, because he's not gonna lie, because he can't. His brain just is not
like
working.
Superman.
Almost.
Superman can't lie.
I know. But you know what it is in the comic books? It's a super weakness, is what it is.
Oh, okay.
Because they figure out ways to get him to say stuff and things like that. But. In real life, we all figure out ways.
Wait! You telling me Superman's not real life?
Well, he is, just not.
Okay.
He's not around.
Okay.
He's in Metropolis.
Okay, right.
So, but we all figure out ways. And what happens is when you're telling somebody something, and you're like, oh, right, if they care, and I believe that they care. She believes people she's telling care. And now they have the information. I just told them the information, and yet they're still not acting. So those things don't make sense. And in our universe, we go, oh, wait a minute. That obviously means they know something I don't know. There's something else. There's more information out there. Maybe I don't know what I think I know. You start to get reflexive because you have to. There's the only other choice.
Okay.
The other choice is to say that those people are immoral, that they're evil, and that's what the political pitch is. Of course, the people like Pelosi will say Trump is evil because he wants to.
Warren
Right. He's evil because of that. But that we all know, we understand that as a political pitch. We all know that when they say Trump is a murderer because he's allowed the climate to change, it's euphemistic. There's a hyperbole there. But she's not going to get that. She's going to hit a hard corner. I'm talking about Gretta here. I think there may be a time when she comes out against the current people who are her friends. It'll be really interesting to see how she navigates it, is all I'm saying, because she's going to make this turn in the public eye. She could have a meltdown or something. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, she's already sort of had a meltdown. How dare you? She's yelling at him.
Yeah.
And they're encouraging her, which is interesting, because this is the kind of thing, this is like a kid demanding ice cream or something. Yeah. You know, it's like, you're like, well, okay, yeah, well, you'll get it when you get it. Yeah. And
well, it is interesting because, let's see, okay, we demand this and so forth. Along the same line is that Elizabeth Warren has come out on I don't know what her plan is yet for this, but she, quote, the survival of our planet depends on the 2020 election. Now, in the past, I would say out of the half a dozen or so presidential elections that I've seen, every one of them has been
the most important.
The most important
election of your lifetime.
That's right. Most important. Now, the survival of the entire planet.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Is the Death Star coming here and do an Alderaan on us or what?
Greta just said it's an affront to life itself.
Yeah. Well, what I find interesting, and I've said this a lot of times.
The force is against you.
Yeah, the force. I've said this a lot of times, that one of the reasons why we haven't seen the Fermi paradox, we haven't seen signs of intelligent life, because I think that, especially in something like the Earth, that life might be like the yeast in a bottle of wine, and as it ferments, and when it gets to a certain whatever it is, 12% or whatever,
eats itself.
It dies.
Right.
It dies. And maybe that's what happens with intelligent species. They get a little too smart for their own good, and they die off, and then maybe it starts up again. But it's conceivable. And you look around here, and you see so much of this stuff that makes absolutely no sense at all. And when you're talking about stuff that really matters, and like right now, for instance, the impeachment is, you're sitting there thinking, you got things to do. You're consumed with this impeachment business as if it's the end of the world, but you're up there in Congress. You get paid, as Scott said, you get $180,000 a year to do something.
But that's only so long as they win their political battle as well. For them, the battle has changed. It's a political battle. It's not about getting things done. It's about surviving through to the next election.
That's true.
So it's all about appearances and the gamesmanship and that kind of stuff. So,
well, and my last little note on the environment. I was doing a little research. They're talking about the Australian fires. And they're talking about, I was reading in the thing that about 18 million acres have been scorched so far.
Okay.
And you can see them from outer space. Okay. And it turns out that the Amazon fires were also roughly that amount, 17 million or something like that. I believe the California fires that destroyed about 1 million acres. Okay. Australia has about 2 billion acres.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
It's 2 billion acres. Now, it's interesting because excluding Alaska.
So about half of it's on fire is what you're saying.
Yeah, right, about half, right. Yeah, 20 million out of 2 billion. I mean, what is that, 0.01% or something?
Half.
Yeah, half. But I mean, I was looking at a picture, satellite picture, and they're little tiny dots on the thing.
Of course they are.
They show it when you first look at it.
Go ahead.
You see the outback is all red, but that's not where the fire is. It just happens to be red.
Right.
But the fires are these little yellow dots, all over the place. And again, 17 million acres. And if it's your house that goes up, that's okay. But it's interesting because I didn't realize this, but Australia is about the same size as the continental United States.
Yeah.
Not Alaska, but roughly the same size.
2.5 million square miles or something.
Yeah, whatever it is. I was looking at acres. It's about 2 billion acres.
Okay.
And, but yeah, square kilometers and all that kind of stuff. I was checking all that stuff. One nice thing, a lot of people might not realize, is when you go to your search engine, you can go, You can spell it out. 2 billion acres equals (square miles, and it'll give it to you right there on the.
Oh yeah, Google's got a lot. There's a
Well,
great-
not only Google, I was doing it in DuckDuckGo.
Okay.
And does the same thing. Now, just for your information, okay, small branch. DuckDuckGo is the browser that doesn't track you.
Yeah, they know. Our people know.
Our people know that. Yeah. So anyway, I thought that that was interesting when you do the perspective. And you realize that fires are a raging, and when you realize that the entire population of Australia is like 20 million. Mm-hmm. I mean, and you understand we're 320 million here in the United States, and they're 20 million in a country that's roughly the same size. Talk about being spread out, and
the koala bears.
Right, but the koala bears and the roos.
That's right.
and the wallabies. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's when you think.
Yeah, look, there's an argument right now that's going around that these are the normal fires, like they were in the Amazon.
Right.
Okay,
yeah.
You've got normal fires every year, everywhere. It's called fire season. It's like rain season for here. Okay.
Right.
And there's different ways that it's combated. And one of the things you do is controlled burns, which we have here. Mm-hmm. But, of course, there are people who are anti that.
Right.
And so if you have anti-controlled burns in places where there are normally burns, then the burn material can stack up, and then you can have an out-of-control burn.
Yeah.
And that may be what's going on here. It's impossible to say. But we know Australia is not literally in flames in terms of the people in the cities and that kind of stuff.
Right.
These are outskirts. These are areas that
They were saying
nobody cares about.
Well, they said about like 10 or 12 people have died and 1,600 homes.
Right.
Well, I think there were more than 1,600 homes that burned in California.
Yeah, maybe so. Well, we had more densely packed.
Right.
area.
Right. Exactly. More densely packed. So it is kind of interesting to see, as I say, the perspective that people think about. Australia is in flames. Well, no, not so much.
I think this just goes along with Greta's narrative. So,
yeah.
Sort of.
Right. Yeah. Well, that is, of course, that is the first thing that people pop onto. This is part of global climate change and so forth. And now we really see the fires, and but you understand, it happens every year. So anyway, all right. I'm going to. And
there's some report that there are the coldest temperatures in January right now in a lot of places.
Oh, is that right?
I mean, yeah. You never hear about the cold places. I was just checking the glacier growth. Even on Wikipedia, they've got glacier growth, which still has the will disappear by 2020 thing on Wikipedia.
Oh yeah.
But they've even got, out of the 89 glaciers that they checked out, 8 of them are advancing, as one would expect.
2 of them here, yeah.
Exactly. And so there's always the other side of the coin.
Yep. I'm panic stricken.
Yeah.
But there's a new word that's popped up. Speaking of words, we'll get to it later. There's a new word that's popped up. You know how we've got everything's a gate. Just everything in the world since 73.
Yeah. The suffix "gate" means scandal.
Right. That's right. Means scandal. But I thought this was interesting. The squad. Now her buddies are called squad mates.
Okay.
The squad mates have done something here. As PTSD-stricken Ilhan Omar jokes with squad mates during a talk about the casualties in Iraq. They couldn't, but what happened was apparently they were talking about this and somebody caught them off camera laughing.
On camera.
Was it on camera?
Yeah, they were standing right behind
they?
Sheila Jackson.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So yeah, got him kind of laughing and joking a little bit, but who knows? It was 1 second what I saw. So
okay.
And look, what they're trying to do is contrast that with her statement earlier in the week that she had PTSD.
Right.
From something, I can't remember what. Maybe it was the plane crash. Or the soldiers. Maybe it was the killing of Soleimani or something like that.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was.
Whatever it was, she's obviously against whatever Trump is doing.
And so she got post-traumatic stress syndrome.
Yeah, well, people were teasing her about that because they were talking about, look, there's real soldiers out there with real PTSD, and
that is. It is.
Shouldn't invoke that as a victimhood from watching something on a TV screen.
Yeah.
From the comfort of your congressional office.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're still getting it there from the TV, you got it pretty bad. You should get some help, maybe. But she's just trying to be dramatic and anti-Trump.
Right. Well, yeah, and of course, what we found is that the hyperbole is getting a bad name because they have hyperbole on hyperbole these days.
Well, everything is over the top.
Over the top.
And
totally.
that's well, we'll see, because we're finally gotten to the point of where, as you just heard, now if you are against Greta, you're against life itself.
Right.
Well, where do we go from there? I guess.
Well, one piece of good news is, whether they like it or not, the actual Earth is still going to be here.
Well, that's what the interesting. Well, the people who think about this stuff get back to, well, all right. Like I saw a report the other day that said the bee is the most important animal on Earth. Well, important to what? I mean, if it's important, that means it's important to a human, because the word important comes from humans.
Right. Okay. Right.
I mean, you know, it's not important to a dinosaur. I mean, what? You can say it's important to the ecology, or the bee's presence supports the most life of any other bullshit. I mean,
Well, you think about it. When you think about it, it's Mother Nature will take care of it. Okay, if the bees disappear tomorrow, you still got the butterflies. You still got the blowing in the air. It will all evolve just fine.
Be another most important animal.
When you think about the coral, for instance.
Right.
Have you ever seen the coral sperm and everything when they go out? Just clouds of stuff.
Right.
And they make all new stuff. That's no bees there, but I mean, my point is that up until we had bees, there was still pollination.
Right. Look, it's easy to argue from an objective perspective that the universe is always perfect. At any given time, it's got exactly the right balance, because it's
White power.
Because it's in some sort of balance or whatever, yin yang. But at some level, you have to conclude that the humans, you got to be team human when you're talking about policies that we're enacting.
Right.
And so you can't enact a policy that supports the bees if it kills a bunch of humans. And this is one of the things where Greta fails. She's talking about the future of life itself, and she's not thinking about the people who need the power today.
Right.
There's 1 billion people without power today.
Yeah.
And they're going to get it from fossil fuels if Greta gets out of the freaking way.
Right. Well, not only that, when you think about it, there is no immediate people talk, for instance, about the solar panels and the wind farms and everything, but what about the real farms? I get news for you. You're not going to have an electric tractor out there, hay baler or whatever.
Well, we might have that eventually. You might get, if you get the system up and the infrastructure and all that kind of stuff, and the fusion power going, or even Y-tricity for all we know. Mm-hmm. Okay, great. That'll happen. But that's going to happen. It's like literally on the horizon the next 40 or so years. But Greta wants to change right now.
Right.
She said she wants them to divest right now, which will literally kill millions of people. She's not thinking. I mean, if they actually did that, if people actually went into the other room and all right, we're signing off and there was a collapse of the fossil fuel industry, you would literally have. Next year, there would be millions of deaths related to the lack of food production.
Billions. Because when you think about it, the transportation, like there'd be no trains, no airplanes, no cars, and I have to go up here and get my pills. Think about all the people that are on some kind of a pill. They're all going to be dead.
Well, I was being conservative from the standpoint of people would find other ways to do things. We would very quickly transition to the new thing, but. The shock, like you said, at least millions. Let's both.
At least, okay. Yeah, I'll give you that. I'd give you millions in a second. I mean, God.
Within 1 year, and
we'd be cave people.
Well, yeah, it would be incredible.
Because there's no way you can transition that fast. It's going to, like you say, it's going to take 30 or 40 years at least.
Yeah.
I mean, I think about, when I think about transitions, I think about the transition, for instance, from dial phones to cell phones. Mm-hmm. I mean, the dial phone, I'm not sure, but I think if you have a dial phone hitched up to AT&T, I think it still works.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I think it goes through the internet now. I think it all goes through the internet now.
Well, no. AT&T has to put a landline in here tomorrow. You can get a landline. I just got rid of mine just the other day.
Okay.
You can get a landline from AT&T in 2 seconds, and you can have a regular phone. Now, you're supposed to have a punchy phone.
Man, I would love to have one of those.
You can have it.
The reception is so much better.
Well, you can have it. It's going to cost you $60 a month, is what they charge, I think, for a phone.
Wow.
So
That would be so awesome.
that's one of the reasons I got it and went on to my.
I
know you
so
can
much
get
better.
AT&T here locally. You can get in fact, the line's already here. You just have to have them hitch it up.
Right.
Because I had a landline until about 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So, and now we use, your mother uses UMA, which is over, what do you call it? I over P or
voice.
VoIP, voice over internet protocol. So anyway, but yeah, if you really want one of those phones, I think I still have one of the phones.
I know I've got some of like the 900 megahertz cell wireless, which is what the best configure. That's what you want. You don't need a corded phone. You can have a nice.
Yeah, but the 900s are no good. It's the 2.4.
Well, the 2.4 gigs.
Those are and the 5.4s are good too.
Yeah,
they do a good job. So a little addition here for the Jimmy Doane Show. Moving along, I thought, how about the shooting down of the airliner?
Oh, well,
Iran admits shooting down the Iranian, saying the gunner this is what I get, mistook a plane for a cruise missile.
Yeah.
And had 10 seconds to make a decision. Now, what they did is they talk in here later. They said why the guy who fired off the missile made a split-second decision. No, he had 10 seconds. It says right here.
Right.
That is not a split. I mean, when you figure out counting,
he split that last second.
He might have done it. But I was watching one of my most favorite shows the other day called The Peacemaker with George Clooney, and the helicopters flew into Russian territory, and they had, they're talking back and forth about, we're all lit up because of the missiles and everything are getting us. But they had, even in the movie, they had 10 or 20 seconds, at least 20 seconds more before they were going to be out of
minute. Okay.
A split second. Well, anyway. Spoiler alert, they shot one of the helicopters down. Anyway.
Did they get George's?
No, they didn't. Hard to believe, but no. But the point is, here's the deal. What gets me is, how do you what kind of stuff do you have that can't tell the difference between a cruise missile and an airplane taking off?
It's regular radar.
I mean, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, you get the, it's the blip, and the speed estimation, and you've got, it's a.
Yeah, because it did get it. It says within 3 minutes after takeoff.
It detects somewhat of a size signature and somewhat of a speed signature, and acceleration. It's like pretty large object accelerating off the ground.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, they offered their sincerest condolences. Interestingly enough, the rioters in Iran have now are now really pissed at the government.
Yeah, I heard that story too. I still think I'm still waiting for where's the Andy Ngo or the Tim Pool of these places of Iran. I mean, where's the citizen journalists running around posting stuff? How come we don't see those things? Because that would be more believable to me than what I mean. Maybe that's what we are seeing. It looks like sort of phone video from windows and things like that.
Yeah.
But you don't get any context. You just have to infer the context, or you get it. I guess you do get it from the reporter, but I just don't trust anyone that's associated with a news organization anymore. I mean, to me, as soon as I see the CNN logo or ABC or CBS, NBC, I just think, well, okay, what's their pitch today? Mm-hmm. I mean, they've definitely got a pitch.
How about Al Jazeera?
I trust them more than and Russian RT, Russian television is another one that's hard hitting, and there's a few out there in the international arena, but you just don't see. I mean, I don't know what they're protesting or yelling about, or I don't know. It's impossible to tell. I mean, they could be a damn soccer game for all I know.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Well, it's interesting. The terrible catastrophe. Here's another thing: should be thoroughly investigated, and those responsible for this unforgivable mistake definitely be identified and prosecuted. So I'm sitting here. I'm thinking, wait a minute. Mm-hmm. Here's the guy. He's sitting there, and he's saying, "Holy crap, we're incoming!"
Yeah.
Lock on, and so it's a mistake. But is it
do-over?
Yeah, do-over, right. But is it really unforgivable and prosecuted? Death penalty?
Yeah,
what?
No,
I mean,
you know what he is? He has qualified immunity.
Qualified immunity. That's right. Well, of course, what's interesting is that Justin Trudeau is all upset because there were like 60 Canadians on board. Yeah, Canadians, and he says he wants compensation. That's for the 57 Canadian victims. He said,
Good work, Justin.
he doesn't think it was an accident. Number one.
Well, I guess if you want to be stern about your demands.
Well, of course, the Canadians might have all been KGB spies.
Exactly. The first thing that I thought a Ukrainian airliner, who was on it.
Let's get a copy of that manifest.
Exactly.
Find out if, that's interesting.
Nobody's come
conspiracy
out and said,
theories,
Yeah, well, nobody's come out. It's been like several days, and nobody's come out and said that Sergeant so and so, or Captain so and so, or Ambassador so and so was on the plane. So I guess, oh well. Perfectly good conspiracy theory.
Well, we shot down one of them one time. Also, airplane coming out of one of those countries.
Yeah. Well, a lot of times. Half of the time, there's been diplomats on there, or somebody who's been somewhat important.
Well, I don't know. When I think about the ones there was the one that was the Chinese shot down one they went straight over their territory. I don't know whether it's a Korean airline or what. I don't know. But it doesn't matter. Okay, moving along. Moving along. Another thing that feeds the conspiracy people.
Okay.
Surprise, surprise.
Flat Earth.
Yeah, well, no, it's not quite that. The surveillance video of Jeffrey Epstein's cell has been destroyed.
I saw that.
Jeez, he said this guy named Sweargold, whoever he is, initially said last month that in White Plains federal court that the video had not been preserved. Then he reversed himself about 24 hours later and said, "Oh no, it's been archived." Now they say, due to a record-keeping error, okay, here's the most important video you will ever have in your life. This is as important as the Magruder Kennedy video. You know what I'm saying? And it says the MCC staff preserved footage. What they preserved was from the wrong cell.
Right.
Video on the wrong cell. The requested video no longer exists in the backup system and has not since at least August 2019 as a result of technical errors. Now that the conspiracy people are all over this.
Well, it's true, and you have to look this. This seals it for me.
Oh, does it?
It does, because
it doesn't seal it for Scott Adams. He still thinks he absolutely.
No, I know, and he's right to use his analysis. I like his analysis.
Right.
There's plenty of incompetence there.
Right.
And that could happen. All those things could happen. But the thing is that's not what happened.
Okay.
And the reason, to me, this seals it, because this was the one critical piece of evidence that I was thinking would tell one way or the other, which is this is the outside video of Jeffrey's cell the night of the suicide, and it's
the murder-cide. That's it.
The Clinticide.
That's it.
Or whatever, whoever killed him, because there would have been a video of this hallway, and it would have been preserved, and it would clearly show somebody either coming in or going out or not, and it's not there.
Right.
And this is the one thing, and the fact that the both guards fell asleep. Not just the one guard, but both guards. I can totally see one guard taking a nap.
Yeah.
And in a very rare circumstance, I can see the second guard thinking, well, I'll just take a quick little nap while he's taking a nap, and then I'll be back up before. But they
were under orders, though, to go look at it every 30 minutes.
Not only that, but this is Epstein, and this is everything, and they had just had a suicide attempt the last week, and all kinds of stuff like that. So, now I did see the videos of the neck and that kind of stuff, and to me, there's nothing that looks weird in that, except that there were 27 jumpsuits or sheets. Like, there was a whole bunch of material in there, which seemed to me to be a lot of material, but it doesn't even matter. And look, this was a murder.
Okay, we have
too many signs, and this to me this paves it over.
Yeah, well, it is. I mean, I thought it was when I was reading this again. If you had dismissed the conspiracy up to now, you're saying, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Like you say, this is it. This is what did it. So, okay, moving along back to Congress for a minute. Mm-hmm. Nancy Pelosi has finally said that tomorrow, Tuesday. Let's see, today's Sunday. So Tuesday apparently. Doesn't Congress only like work Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday or something?
I don't know.
That's so they can get back to wherever they go. Tuesday, apparently, they're going to call up and start to arrange for the transfer of the impeachment stuff over to the Senate. And apparently, they have to put together the next week, to a resolution to appoint managers and transmit articles of impeachment to the Senate. But I mean, they have to go through apparently to me, it reminds me a little bit of what they have to go through is some kind of ritual to transmit the stuff.
Right,
they can't just fax it over there.
Right, but that makes sense. I mean, that's what we do in legal world. There's a lot of ritual.
Okay.
You got to file this thing, and there's a deadline, there's a time for it, and then you appear in this room at this time with these people, and then you say these magic words. And we've all been there. As an attorney, you've been there when, like, the attorney doesn't quite know the magic words. And we're all standing around like waiting for him to say the magic words,
Yeah.
and they know kind of what to say, so they're kind of like saying the sort of this. It's like casting a spell without getting it right. You know,
Yeah,
they
yeah,
say, well,
yeah.
are you trying to say? And the judge can't help them out, you know. So, and the opposing counsel's not going to help them out, so they sit there and fumble around for a minute, but then usually they get the words at the end, or they just look them up. You know, you look them up. Oh wait, what's that spell again? You know, and you say,
What's that spell?
And that's what it is.
Turned him into a newt instead of a duck.
That's it.
Right.
So this doesn't surprise me.
Well, I think one of the ones that's really good, talk about the rituals, is when the Parliament opens up. That's the one where they go down, somebody from the one side, from the House of Lords, I think, or something, goes down to the House of Commons.
Okay.
And the House of Commons guy slams the door in his face.
Oh, is that right?
Oh yeah, no, it's a whole ritual. And he takes the scepter and he bangs on the door, and the Queen requests entrance or something.
Right.
Maybe it's,
Go away!
that's it. No, really, seriously. The whole deal is literally when these people, all this crowd comes up to the door, and literally they slam the door in the face. And this guy has to stand there and take this scepter out and bang on the door, and the Queen or whoever it is requests entrance, and then the door creaks open. And no, I mean seriously, it's one of the. I would imagine it's on YouTube, but if you want
to know, and I would have pulled it up.
Maybe we can do it on Wednesday, because
post. We'll fix it.
You talk about your ritual. This ritual is like 600 years old or something.
Nice.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
Well, we've played the changing of the guards in India and Kashmir a few times. That's a great one.
Oh my God, yeah.
And
really
but you have to have these little things. So they have to have an official transmission of the documents, because there just always has to be an acknowledgement, a known acknowledgement by everybody of what's actually happening.
Well, of course, it reminds me a little bit of, in a way, of receiving a registered letter. And, you know, so you go into the Senate, whoever it is goes over to the Senate and says, here they are, and the guy says, I'm not taking that.
Right. Nope, not signing.
I'm not signing for that. Go away.
Right. Well, and I'm sure they have an official registry where
I'm sure they
deposit it. The urgent letters of impeachment, obviously.
Yeah, the urgent. Let's see, that was before Christmas.
Well, and it was before the assassination. I mean, she allowed him to wield executive power, lethal executive power.
Well, of course, as they say, the meme that's going around on Facebook is, why didn't Trump tell the House that he was going to do this? And of course, they show the picture of Elian and AOC, because they would have leaked it.
Oh, right, yeah.
You know, before we sent the missile over there, why didn't you? Well, in Congress, some people in Congress said, you could have told us. We're fine. And of course, they showed the picture of the squad.
Right.
Said, that's why.
Right. Well, yeah. Well, he said that, I think, at his rally.
I know. Oh yeah. It was all. Okay. So apparently, next week.
You don't have time. I mean, that.
No, of course,
knows.
it's the stupidest thing in the world.
Right.
Of course, you don't tell anybody. You know,
Right.
you tell the guy that's got his finger on the button.
Even without the authorization for the use of military force, the president has the authority to blast the crap out of shit the way that Clinton did. And without any warning or anything like
Kosovo.
that. Exactly.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, I mean, they are all relying on the War Powers Act of 1973 or something.
Yeah, you don't even. It's baked.
Yeah, it's baked. It is. So anyway, apparently, the Senate. It's conceivable if they deliver this stuff on Tuesday or Wednesday in the Senate that maybe the next week they'll have the quote trial, and it'll be all over.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. That'll be interesting. Okay, moving along for something in the future. I thought this was kind of interesting. The guy was a CEO of a company called Mobileye. He was on Kramer the other night on CNBC. And he says robo-taxis will be available in 2022. 2 years, okay?
Yeah.
Self-driving tech supplier, Mobileye CEO says, Anand Shashura told Mad Money host Jim Cramer that robotaxi is not that far away. And I thought it was interesting, self-driving technology. He says, first of all, it's going to be in the taxis, which of course is going to be kind of interesting for Uber and Lyft, number one, because, all of a sudden,
you don't need a human.
Well, that's right. I mean, that's going to, people that have been not making money with Uber and Lyft are not going to make it anymore. So the first, it says, and one of the reasons it'll come in the form of cab services is because if there's a failure or something, you can go to one person. In other words, there'll be a guy at the place that is doing the dispatching or however it gets done. It's not going to be individual drivers.
Right.
So it'll be a dispatcher like Louis
Who cares?
on taxi, and okay, put that robo. Yeah, okay. And but the cars will all be autonomous, and so if there's a flaw, they only have to go to one place to fix it. Whereas with individual drivers, if there's a flaw, and what he said was he expects that the turnover could happen as early as 2025 when individual people are doing. Now, of course, what's interesting about this is the cab business is almost that. In other words, if you're going to have your little cell phone and you instead of Uber you hit the thing and the RoboCab shows up, that's just about as good as individual.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You mean your own car? You mean
no? You have a fleet,
right?
And they're parked somewhere. I don't know where. And of course, what they're going to be is they're going to be all over the place. Actually, just sitting there waiting
the
for
fleets.
Yeah, the fleet. It'll own by maybe one guy, maybe Uber or something. Will own a fleet.
Yeah, or Avis
or somebody like that. And so when when you hit your phone and say I'd like to have a taxi cab, it'll grab up the nearest one and come over there robo-like. So.
Oh yeah, no, it'll be awesome. And I mean,
and it's got to be cheap too, whether you like it or not.
Oh no, so much cheaper than owning your own car. Can you imagine the difference?
I mean, unbelievable.
The payments,
especially with the beauty of it is there'll be something called competition.
Oh yeah.
There's two things that are the beauty of it about is
until we pass some stifling laws.
That's just getting ready to say it. Just getting ready. These guys, you're going to see dollar signs light up, and they're going to say you got to do this.
Well, they just crunched the gig economy out in California with with the whole you got to be an employee, you got to pay your employees thing. We talked about that.
Of course, if there's no employees,
well,
they got another way to squash it, I'm sure.
Well, and they'll pay the Louis dispatcher. They'll give him benefits and whatever because who cares? He's one guy.
Yeah, and of course, actually, he's probably not doing much except seeing where the stuff is.
Right.
He's not going to actually be a dispatcher because that's all going to be automatic.
Right.
And he'll remind me of the guy that watches over
It'll be a tech guy. Well, go ahead.
Well, it reminds me a little bit of one of my other favorite movies called Pelham 123.
Okay.
And the guys sit there and they're just watching this stuff. The trains. They're not doing anything. They're just watching it.
Right.
Where the trains are going, and this one stopped, and call him up and see. That kind of stuff.
Yeah. And that's what it'll be because. And he'll have some tech capacity to reboot the car, the system, or something like that, and then he'll have the authority to override it and send a different car.
Well, not only that, they'll have telemetry that'll tell you when it needs to get charged up again. And so, when you realize a lot of these cars, when you think about it, in town here, The typical taxi ride is what, 5, 6, 8 miles or something, maybe tops out of the airport. 8 miles maybe.
Yeah.
And they're all good for like 200 miles. So if you charge them, once a week, it's about all you'd have to do probably on a lot of them.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, this is going to be a quick and interesting transition.
It'll really be fabulous.
And what'll happen is when the new drivers come online, people who are turning 16, 17 right now, and their option is, should I buy a car with my $200 a month? And of course, right now they're giving away cars. They're trying doing whatever they can. Or do you just pocket that money and just Uber around and then soon robo around, robo taxi around? And my guess is the robo taxi cost will be half of what the Uber cost is.
The insurance is going to be totally different.
Yeah.
For one thing.
Yeah, because half the time it's not driving even with a person in it. So you've got a lot less potential
it's got to be
there.
And the cops are going to be pissed because there's no more speeding.
Nobody to harass.
Nobody to harass.
Oh man, it's going to be great. People don't understand. I mean, I remember when I first thought about the robo driving situation like 20 years ago, I was pissed. I thought, oh shit. And you can go back and listen to some of our old shows.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about another old show in just a second that we did. But in our old shows in like the early 2000s, I remember specifically telling everybody by 2050 it'll be illegal for people to drive. And I said because we'll start making the transition in the 2020s, and then it'll phase out. And I was always like, man, I'm going to keep driving. I want to drive this car. Now I'm just the opposite. Now I'm like, man, when can I stop driving?
When 2050 is, you're way out. I think 2030 tops.
Tops, absolutely.
And not only that, you're not asking to drive the train or the airplane. You ride in those things.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, you don't own your own airplane or your train, and same way you're not going to own your car.
Well, right. And it just, to me though, the big thing is the avoidance of the responsibility of the driving. You can get yourself into prison trouble very fast out in your car driving around.
You know that. You can get yourself in prison trouble for a brake light that's out.
Yeah, exactly. And very simply, I mean, there's all kinds of risk of being bagged and tagged and bumped on the head and thrown around jail and all that kind of stuff that you can avoid if you're not driving the car.
The beauty, of course, what I see is the telemetry. Because right now in these cars, and my car is ancient, but it's got a lot of stuff in it that tells you. I mean, I got a little thing that plugs into my port there.
Yeah.
And it tells you just about everything you want to know.
Well, see, they figured out that already.
I mean, my God. I mean, it tells me if I've got a tire that's a little low on air.
Exactly.
Or your tail light out. Yeah. Anything. It tells me all that stuff. Everything.
Well, it's about time.
Yeah, that's right. Well, so anyway, if they put that.
How come it doesn't fly?
That's it. So maybe that'll be next. I don't know. So, okay. That is interesting. Let me talk a little bit more about cars.
Okay.
This is a legal thing, and you might want to weigh in on this. Utah is going to decide if the driver's DEPORTM license plate violates state guidelines. It's deport 'em.
Right.
Is what it is.
Yeah.
Okay. And he got it. He got the tag. It slipped through.
Oh.
Because a lot of times if you try and put I remember a friend of ours had a tag that when you put it upside down, it said smile.
Uh-huh.
Well, the cops finally caught him. You can't do that. I'm thinking, that's a great, how are you going to not get caught?
Yeah.
Well, upside down and smile, figure it out. That kind of stuff. Whatever. Anyway, the point is, there's a lot of stuff like that where you can put a 3 or a 1 or something in there. Yeah. I've always said that one of the great tags would be IO01 0I1, and L, capital L, right, and that kind of stuff. So that you look at this, and of course, it's just it's like watching it's like watching a herd of zebras. You can't tell one from the other.
Yeah.
So anyway, the point is that deport them. They're going to apparently they're going to take it to court, and what many commentators said the plate was offensive or yuck, but it's the First Amendment free speech issue. Is it free
So
speech?
if, like, somebody took a picture of it and posted it on their Twitter, and then a bunch of people chimed in.
Oh yeah, no,
and
they
now
did.
this
No,
guy's
they
gotta
did. Oh
take
no,
his-
that's what
his
happened.
tag off.
Yeah, I saw a picture.
They'll make him remove it because they maintain strict codes on everything that they have to do associated with that. For example, if your tag light is out, there's a charge for that. The light that illuminates the tag, if it's not properly lit, is said to be occluding the tag, and you can.
So the robo readers can't get it.
Well, exactly, all kinds of stuff. But now the robo readers are so good, doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
And now they don't even pull you over. Like when I was younger, they'd pull you over if your tag was expired.
Right.
Or
They don't.
something.
No.
No,
They pulled me over. I remember the last time was probably 6 or 7 years ago. I used to go and see. I'd buy the tag.
Yeah.
But I would
and then leave the sticker in the glove box.
in the glove compartment.
Yeah.
And the last time I got pulled over was maybe 10 years ago. But I've had my. I've had my. Even though I bought it, but I've had my tag go for well over a year when nobody cared. But like you say, they just phone it in.
Yeah.
He's paid up.
Yeah, I mean,
And
and it makes sense because look, it's not like there's a bunch of Bonnie and Clydes running around in stolen cars,
Right.
getting ready to rip off a bank or something,
Right.
And people are realizing that everything's kind of quelling down a little bit.
I remember when I did get stopped, the cop looked at me and says, I could give you a ticket. And I thought, yeah, okay.
Yeah, you could.
You could, but come on.
Yeah.
I'm paid up. I paid my tithe.
Yeah, exactly.
I paid your master. Let me out of here. So,
Our master.
so next thing that I thought was kind of interesting, which will be another legal thing. Teens who changed a digital billboard to display pornography identified by the police.
Yeah, well,
What they did is they snuck into,
zombie attack.
well, what happens is, as you know, a lot of times you drive down the highway, and a lot of times over the bridges now, or someplace they'll have a thing that's up there, and it'll be a digital. It's like in L.A. Story. Remember in L.A. Story when it came up and said, "What I really want to do is direct."
Yeah.
The sign said that. But now, of course, these signs up there, they're all LEDs. So what they did is they broke into the place that controls it. It must be smart kids. They found the laptop in there and everything, and they programmed it for porno. And I don't know whether they put a picture on there or whatever. I mean, I have no idea. But whatever it was, traffic was all over the place looking at this thing, and they were saying, "Wait a minute!" As people just couldn't believe it, and they were worried.
Sounds like a felony to me.
Well, what's interesting, apparently, somebody dialed up 911 or whatever, and whoever runs that stuff went over there fairly quickly and reset it or whatever. I don't know if they reset it from someplace, but it wasn't up there all that long. Anyway, they figured out who the kids were. I don't know how that worked. One of them was like 16 and the other was 18.
Was it long enough? No.
Yeah. Drivers had a tough time staying focused on the road. So anyway, the 16-year-old had no prior criminal history, which makes sense. I mean, 16, you don't have that long to have. So they referred him. Yeah, they referred him to a juvenile diversion program.
Okay, good.
So if he gets through that, apparently, it'll all be expunged.
Yeah.
18-year-old, who knows?
Sex offender.
Sex offender, right? I don't know. And of course, speaking of porno, my last item that I've got here is for the new Christians. Are you bored with your Sunday service? Well, a nudist church is your thing. You can a nudist church in Virginia where the pastor delivers sermons in his birthday suit. This is, and I guess the parishioners can all go in there and get naked. And look, I'm sure that if you go to a nudist camp, for instance, you could do that. I've been to one. I mean, I didn't go to church, but I went to a nudist camp one time in my youth. But it's actually fairly. It's not as intimidating as you might think it is. But I thought, it's interesting because they have drive-through churches. They have I like this one here, a 500-foot long biblically accurate reconstruction of Noah's Ark in Kentucky.
Yeah.
Now,
talked about that.
I know we have, but I mean, biblically accurate. I mean, really? Wait a minute.
Well, it's just there is a description.
I know, but it wasn't chains. It was cubits or something.
Yeah.
What was the?
Yeah, something like that.
Whatever they had to. So these unaffiliated worshipers are the ones being targeted by the prolific number of alternative churches. and Christian recreational sites. And what happened is this guy named Abad has written a book on it, and he's gone around and taken pictures. He got pictures of these alternate churches. So, he's going to make some money on it. So churches have adopted...
It's 90% from the nude church here.
Yeah, right. Churches have adopted free market principles to open up new niches in spiritual beliefs. If you're a surfer, there's a church for Christian surfers, and if you're a biker, there's Christian bikers. So, I thought it was interesting that the headline, the grabby headline on this was nude.
Right.
If it had just said church for bikers, I wouldn't have read it.
Right.
So I read the article. There you have it.
There you go. All right.
What have you got?
Couple of real quick things. Just super quick, back to Iraq real quick. I was doing a little random quality control on our show, just randomly selected a show from back in the past and played it, and it just happened to play right on a segment we were covering about Iran almost a year ago to the day. It was in February of last year. And it talked about a new missile they had developed and its 800-mile range, and how people were concerned maybe it was going to reach over into Israel from when we talked about maybe they would shoot it over there, that kind of stuff. But it was just interesting that we were talking about the rise of the difficulty of Iran a year ago, and here we are at a sort of resolution point through this recent activity, and we'll see what happens. But they didn't put anything on that missile and launch it into Israel as we speculated they might or could.
Well, that would be the death sentence.
Yeah, well, exactly.
I mean, because, when you think
that's
about
what we talked about.
Remember now, Iran is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a huge place.
Yeah.
It's probably 20 times the size of Israel, I'm guessing.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah. Even Iraq is probably 5-6 times.
Yeah, Iraq is probably 20, and
Iraq is smaller
100.
than Iran.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's about a third the size or a quarter the size of Iran.
Yeah. Yeah, we did that last time.
Yeah.
So also I thought it was interesting. There's a video on the web of some places where Iran painted flags. I mean, the American flag.
Yes, I saw that.
And the American flag and the Israeli flag, and
now it was on the ground, and there are these huge flags. They're like 20 by 40 feet or something.
Well, the ones that I saw were like 6 by 4 feet.
Okay, 6 by 4, but they're the entrance to some place.
Yes.
I mean, normally you would walk over the flags to get it. Okay.
Right, and to me, and the one that I saw is people were jumping over the flag.
Okay.
Because that was the only way to get over it, was to jump over.
Okay, couldn't go around.
No, because they had like a gate or something.
Okay.
But the one you described, I heard someone else describe as well, and people were going around it like that, which is interesting. It's just interesting that the people of Iran are not playing along with the regime's.
Yeah. Well, they've been, Iran. I mean, really has been quite secular in its.
I know.
In the old days, really.
It's only been the last 5 decades.
Yeah,
that things have been a
really,
problem.
because before that it was mini skirts and everything.
Exactly.
I mean, it was before that it was, what do you call it?
Progressive,
when you're disco. Yeah.
So all right, and then Putin has a new hypersonic weapon.
Really?
Yeah, apparently 17 times the speed of sound, which doesn't even sound believable.
No, it does. If it's a scramjet, you can get to that. That's the only one that'll get up there.
Yeah.
I was watching a thing on YouTube that talked about the difference between jets, the various kinds of jets, and then the ramjet, which only goes up to like 9 times, and then the scramjet, they don't know what the top end is.
Yeah.
But you have to use a ramjet. You have to use a regular jet to get the ramjet up to speed where it'll start working.
Yeah.
And then you have to use the ramjet, to piggyback or to have the scramjet piggyback on the ramjet to get it up to speed.
Well, that would certainly change the naval situation.
Well, what's his name? Of course, is talking about Elon Musk. He's talking about flights from New York to Beijing in 30 minutes or something.
Right. Well, we played a really cool video, which we resurrect, of the rocket launches that he was everywhere in the world on Earth within an hour.
Yeah.
With this rocket.
Well, I was listening to a podcast about the different Elon Musk's rockets and how they are improving, or they're being redone almost every year, almost as often as iPhones. And the difference between his first rocket, which was 2006 or something, and the ones today is night and day. I mean, they've undergone this tremendous evolution. And for instance, they thought for a while they were going to use carbon fiber, and they found out it doesn't work. That's why they went back to stainless steel, and all the kinds of stuff like this. I mean, who knows what's going to happen? But it is interesting that apparently the suborbital of the space, the big one here, is supposed to occur like in the next couple of months. So that'll be the first real one. And of course, the thing is, they said everything is reusable.
Yeah.
And the only thing that I didn't realize this, one of the reasons they're talking about Mars is because it's fueled by methane, and Mars has methane. What they're saying is, the way they're figuring it, that
they're going to mine some methane when they get up there.
Yeah. I mean, or maybe they're going to distill it out of something, out of the ice or something. I don't know. They've got a way to do it, but it turns out that it's oxygen and methane or something. But it's fairly cheap. And
there's giant cow on Mars.
Yeah, right, giant cow, right. Well, the interesting part about it is this, what this YouTube thing was talking about, what I thought was fascinating was, since everything is reusable, the only thing you have to worry about is the fuel. And if the fuel is that cheap, space-time, here we go.
Yeah. So, did you see the drone display for New Year's in China?
No.
Instead of fireworks, they used coordinated drones.
Really?
And they did a spectacular job.
Really?
There was one point where they had an image of a man running in the sky that was made up of just points of lights on various drones.
Oh my God.
And then they had the countdown flash out from the various drones, and it was spectacular.
It's better than those football marching bands that make something on the field.
And that's what it looked like.
Yeah, right.
Except it was three-dimensional.
Right, I got you.
And in the air.
Yeah,
it was like
in the air.
Man, it was cool. So, all right. So, hey, thanks for joining us, Scott. Hope you had a little fun. Here, we had some fun. We'll be back on 15th on Wednesday.
4 o'clock.
That's right. These tracks brought to you by Kevin MacLeod. Thanks, Kevin. We appreciate it.
We might even have some news on the impeachment by then.
Yeah.
Like, who cares?
Get back into the real news cycle.
Yeah.
I'm Counselor Curtis, and this is the Jimmy Doane Show.